this is the school that is just like a vocational school for media, is the way that I look at it. It is accredited, so you will get your certificate for being a media professional on that. You take that over to another station, television wise, radio wise, or take that gift certificate and a business plan over to the bank and get yourself a small business loan, because you, sir or madam, are now an entrepreneur. So we want to make sure that that invitation is open to everybody. Check out beonair.com. If you want to check out WRMN's side of things, you can go ahead and go to WRMN1410.com. And that's where you can find all of the different information about WRMN. Also streaming live on YouTube. We start the live stream at 6, and then we continue on through, unless we're playing a Sox game or something that we're not allowed to be playing on YouTube. But check out anything that you missed would be right there on that YouTube side. We make sure that we cut up all of the important interviews and the important subject matters, and we slice it up, make sure that that's ready to go on there, on top of the live stream, in which when we are live in the studio or we're doing live for WRMN specifically, that is broadcasting over there. So that's all the housework out of the way. Welcome in. Thank you very much for being here and part of A Political Talk Show. A Political Talk Show is been going on for quite a while now. I think the better part of 2 years. We started on WCGO in Evanston and broadcast over there. When I moved over to WRMN, moved the show with me as well. So you can check out almost 100 different podcasts for A Political Talk Show sitting out there on your. Looks like we're back on the air. Thank you, Matthew, for fixing that for me. Really appreciate that. What we're doing on the WRMN side, at least for the Apolitical Talk Show side, is we wanted to make sure that we had a place for everybody. If you go, I don't want to necessarily point out names. We all know the two stations that are political in the Chicagoland area. We've got the one that's mostly blue, and we've got the other one that's mostly red. And if you try to call in, or you try to engage, or you try to listen to that other side that is different from you, you're not really welcome on those sides. They want it more for an echo chamber. They want it more for a, you agree with me, call in and continue to agree with me. And anybody who doesn't, we'll just berate them. And once they leave, we'll just make fun of them on the air. So we try not to do that here on WRMN, and we try to take it from the broadcaster's perspective, that we have a responsibility to be fair. And so when you do hear me talk about the presidency, you do hear me talk about the administration, or maybe you hear me talk about Congress or a certain political figure or anything like that. Yes, I do have my own biases and leanings. I'm a person. That's what we do. But I want to make sure that we have everything as fair and as close as well, to make sure that when we open up the forum, when we open up the discussions, we make sure that it's not necessarily my perspective, but it gives you all a chance to hop on over there as well. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It seems to be a connection issue over there. I really appreciate those of you hanging on. I am broadcasting out of the Illinois Media School's studio over here, but we've got Matt McNeil over there on the ones and twos helping me out over at the station. I appreciate him and getting everything squared away for me over there. So what are we talking about today? Not just an overview of how nicey nice A Political Talk Show is to everybody, but what are we actually going to be talking about? Now, a lot of my caveat for that beginning was because we are going to get into the recklessness, or I don't know, the lack of planning or anything like that that the administration seems to be putting together. We've been hearing three different excuses of why these tariffs are in. The first one is we got to bring manufacturing back. Okay, bring manufacturing back. We all can agree on that one. Needs to be more. I think it's over like 5 million jobs of manufacturing have left the United States, but the United States has moved more for a service aspect at this point. You're talking about entertainment, you're talking about online in Silicon Valley side. So we've kind of moved our economy to a different side, to more of service and less manufacturing. But okay, we can all make some more things over here in the United States. I think we can all agree on that. So that's one of the reasons they put together the tariffs for this one. The second one that they do is they say, well, it's a negotiating tactic. Well, okay, if you remove the tariffs that you say that you implemented to move the manufacturing in, if you use it as a negotiating tactic, then you're not using it as bringing manufacturing back. Okay. If some different people have different ideas of why they're doing this, it'd be really nice if they would come out and just say one of those things. The president says one of those things, and not all of his pundits turn around and say different things. And then the third one is to clean up the national debt. Well, again, it goes back to the negotiating tactic. If you remove it from the negotiating, if you preface the tariffs as a negotiating tactic, then when you remove them, you're cutting out the jobs that you wanted to bring, which was number one of your excuses, and you're no longer taking in those tariffs to help with the deficit or the debt or whatever word that they want to use. They seem to be using them interchangeably. They're not interchangeable. They're two different things. Debt and deficit are two different things. And that again, if you're using it as a negotiating tactic, if you remove them as the negotiating tactic, then you aren't collecting the money. Do you see? This is where I get frustrated with the administration. Look, if that's what you want to do, first off, let's do it legally. Incredibly legal gray area with what they're doing right now, using a national emergency, calling the trade deficits national emergencies. Oh, okay, legal gray area. It's up to Congress to fix it. If Congress doesn't want to fix it, then that's what we're going to do. But if you're going to do it, you're going to say it, don't change your mind. We had literally an entire day of every time the president was in front of a microphone, somebody would ask, would you change it if this happened? Would you change it if that happened? Or what about this? Or what about that? There were hearings for 2 days. The financial advisor. And even then, 10% inflation, would you change it? No. 50% reduction in the stock market, would you change it? No. Would anything change to make us put a pause on this tariff? No, it's forever. These things are going to be here forever, et cetera, et cetera. And then again, right before the deadline, right before it's supposed to kick in, after the only thing that the market could do was speculate fear, maybe prepare for the tariffs, maybe prepare or save some money or do something or pivot or change. It changes again. And it changes again, not through the gentleman who is being grilled by Congress about them putting these together in the first place. It comes from a tweet. It comes from a message. It comes from a public just, there it is. I do decree this is the new change. Now, you and I both know that you don't want to live like that. Anybody with a good faith argument, anybody that is a true patriot, isn't going to turn around and say, yeah, you know what, I do believe that some guy should just be able to, even then, you wouldn't even say some guy. Let's just say the president. The president can just arbitrarily turn on and off tariffs. Tariffs affect the global economy. You don't tariff something coming from Wisconsin down to Illinois. That's state tax. You buy a thing within the state, et cetera, et cetera. They can work it from there. Don't let them fool you. A tariff is a tax on things you buy that they don't make in the United States. Now, the government only has a couple different levers. Now, by all means, they've got the lever of saying, hey, armed guards, do this thing. Sure, that's always a thing that they're able to do. But where the government really gets people to do things or move or change or do anything that they want them to do, it's through a tax. Let's talk about the soda tax. We've seen it in New York. We've seen it down in the Chicago city limits. We've seen it all kinds of different places. Obesity is on the rise. We need people to stop drinking so much sugary drinks. What does the government do? They don't ban the sugary drinks. That's ridiculous. It's a free market. So what do they do to discourage people from buying sodas and sugary drinks? They tax you. So if the government doesn't want you to buy things from Canada, they want you to buy things from the United States. Guess who gets a 25% markup from the goods they send to the United States? And that's not because Canada is going to pay another what have you for it. It's because they don't want you to buy from Canada. They are manipulating where you spend your money. Make it 25% more expensive, 10% more expensive, 104% more expensive to make you buy something different. Don't get this wrong. A tariff makes our goods, not the ones that we send out, the ones that you and I buy, more expensive. When they say we're going to move manufacturing to here, we're going to make sure that the Chinese economy and everything else starts to collapse, that's because they're making things expensive for you so that you won't buy them. And that affects the other country. We import way, way more things than we export. And so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about tariffs through the chicken war or the chicken tax. We've talked about that one before. I'm also going to talk about the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. That was the last time 100 years ago that we tried to do this thing again. And we'll talk about the repercussions of that one, including the chicken war and the chicken tax of the 1960s as well. And then we'll talk about why we reversed course. Why was it that yes, it was a negotiating tactic. Yes, at any point they were going to turn it off or put a delay. How do I know that? They did it before. The guy's only been in months in a matter of weeks. Has only been in charge in a matter of weeks. And we've already seen this before. Except now it's not our own northwestern quadrisphere of the globe with us and Mexico and Canada. They've now encompassed the entire globe with it. And I'm not just saying these things just to be, oh, Donald Trump, or I didn't vote for him, so he's just the worst person in the entire world. No. This is what is happening. I don't need to put a personality to anything. I want to let you know what our government is doing. And ipso facto, our government is run by a single person right now. Congress has made that absolutely clear. The Supreme Court has made that absolutely clear, that they don't want checks and balances. They don't want to do their part of the work. They want to leave it to one guy and his digital media. And if that's what everybody voted for, then fine. That's what's happening. I just want to let you know that that's what's happening. If you listen to the beginning of the show back when President Biden was president, when we started the show, I didn't like him and him not keeping his promises either. And that's the issue that we run into with a duopoly like this. The only place that they can lose is to the other team who is also screwing us over. That's what losing the party or losing the candidacy or losing the office looks like. Oh, shucks, I lost the office to the other people who like to make us all rich. I lost the office to the other people who are just going to give all of the power to the president. And until we wake up and until we start demanding more of our legislators and more of the people that we elect, it's never going to change. I know you out there. I know you that have voted for the same people for the last 25, 30 years because you know that name. And you know that your house didn't catch on fire. And you know that you weren't seriously harmed or seriously put into the poorhouse or anything like that. And so you just kept voting for the same person. I recognize that name. I see him there. This is why people scream for term limits. And so when we talk about a lot of this here, we're going to get all the way down into the bond market. Because despite the calls from the farmers, despite the screams from the investors, despite the on-air pleading by his co-president, Elon Musk, our president didn't arbitrarily pause the tariffs until the bond market reacted. And so what is the bond market? Well, the bond market is treasury bonds that people buy 20 years, 30 years, et cetera, to put money away because they know that the United States will be solid enough in the next 20 or 30 years. So it's almost a guarantee hide money type of thing. The way the system worked and the way that it helped us for so long is we would spend money and we would invest in places like Vietnam with their manufacturing. Maybe we help them even send a little bit of money down there to create the factory. We make sure the tariffs on Vietnam are lower so people can actually send things over. And all that money that goes to Vietnam, they turn around and say, we want to make more money, so we'll send that money into treasury bonds for the United States. So thank you for investing in our country. I'm going to turn around and take that money that you sent us and spend it right back around and buy Treasury bonds. But just the other day, the Treasury bonds started selling off quickly, faster than anybody really liked. And what that does is it tells everyone that the United States isn't as stable as we all think it is. 20, 30 years from now is what those Treasury bonds are banking on. Maybe we need some more stability in our decisions. Maybe we do need to be slightly slower. Maybe we need to think before we just start taxing. No new taxes, they say? Well, obviously you don't know the definition of a tariff. More Apolitical Talk Show coming up here on WRMN. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. YouTube.com. WRMN Radio is where it's at. We'll be right back after this.
With your 1410 WRMN Newsflash, I'm Sean Kernan. Brought to you by Cintas. Elgin Community College gearing up for Experience ECC, taking place 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April 16th, beginning with campus tours from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Attendees can explore over 130 degree and certificate programs, but you must make a reservation by checking out the ECC website. Kane County in a tight spot after voters rejected a 0.75% sales tax increase, leaving the county without the anticipated $50 million in annual revenue. Board members gathered on Tuesday to strategize the next step mid-budget shortfalls. The Naperville Police Department and Naperville Park District are holding a free document shredding event at the Centennial Beach parking lot on April 12th. Residents can bring up to 2 banker-sized boxes or bags of sensitive materials on site for shredding. The event runs from 8 to 11 or until the trucks are full. With your 1410 WRMN Newsflash, I'm Sean Kernan.
Something amazing is happening. Despite a citywide blackout, this company is still up and running. That's because CDW deployed and managed a cost-effective Eaton Trip Light Series Smart Pro UPS to safeguard equipment easily and reliably. Keep the power on and protect your IT equipment from electrical challenges. Trip Light by Eaton and CDW. Make amazing happen. Find out more at cdw.com/triplight.
With Progressive Snapshot, you could save on auto insurance rates by driving safely, which is nice because you can just keep doing you. So keep on using that broken phone charger because it occasionally works. Keep quoting something you heard on a podcast as your own. Keep ignoring your sister's texts while you drive and after. And when baggage claim says, have a great trip, keep on saying, you too. And keep driving safely. And you could save with Snapshot from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
Let me tell you a story about Bill. Bill was a normal guy in his 50s. He had back surgery about 2 years ago. Bill was in a lot of pain. He dealt with his pain by taking the Percocets his doctor prescribed for him. Bill took more and more and more of them to help with the pain, until one day the prescriptions weren't enough to get rid of Bill's pain. Then one day Bill found someone to help him get rid of the pain with illegal drugs he didn't need a prescription for. Fast forward to today. Bill lost his job and his family. The only thing he does have is his drug dealer. If you know Bill's story and you don't want to end up like Bill, call the Detox and Treatment Helpline right now to get away and get treatment.
800-694-1127. 800-694-1127. 800-694-1127. Call right now. Help is standing by. 800-694-1127.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast. This afternoon, partly sunny with a slight chance of rain showers and a high near 47, with temperatures falling to around 45. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a slight chance of rain showers before 7 p.m. and a low around 33. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high near 53. Currently, it is 42 and overcast. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
Progressive Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Psst, honey. What? Shh, there's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do?
Get down.
Down?
On the floor, you...
Shoot, did he see us?
Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy, but with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Welcome back to a political talk show on WRMN. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of the show. I see you all over there on the YouTube side too. Brendan comes in. Hey, Brendan, it's good to see you there, man. Thanks for jumping in. Make sure you hit that like button as well when you guys see us go live. That lets everybody else know that, hey, that's something cool to watch. Jeff comes in as well. Hey, good afternoon to you, Jeff. What's shaking besides tariffs? Well, let's see, a couple of different things. There is the AP has now been invited back to the White House press pool. Let's see here. What else was there? A few other things as far as habeas corpus and everything going on for due process for immigrants that are being kind of swept away to El Salvador. They're not working too hard to get any of those people back, but they are shoring up the just express flights that get out there. I think it was Sotomayor who wrote in the dissent about how it's really tricky because the courts take longer than, an express flight by the military. So there is this weird gray area that when somebody applies to not be sent, just deported out without due process, there's this weird time that the president could really just round them up, put them on a plane, send them somewhere, and then go, sorry, judge, they're no longer in this district, so they can't apply for habeas corpus. When you apply to go before a judge, you have to apply within the region that you're being detained in. It was what got the Columbia student who was moved to, I think, Louisiana when his lawyer filed in New York, because that's where ICE had said he was. So going fast and breaking things is good, maybe for a short time, and if you know how to put things back together. If you don't know how to course correct, then turning stuff on and off is not a good idea. A lot of people say, oh, you turn it on and off, you get to see what happens. Yeah, if you game the system out. Trust me, I'm an engineer. There's plenty of times where I troubleshoot that way. I turn it off, I turn it back on. But I make sure I know what I'm turning off, and I know what is going to be effective or affected when I pull the plug. So that's a couple of the other things that are going on. More questions and answers when you hear the news. I absolutely agree with you on that one there, Dennis. Let's see here. Locally, Kane County Board seems to be in somewhat of a disarray. Their bookkeeping process is a mess, says Jeff. How many on here back the ideas? I sure don't. Not even terrestrial to blurt it out. Like how they got here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, how did they get here? Sure, 100%. But if you are accused of a crime here in the United States, you go before a judge. I don't know how else to put that other than before you are sentenced, before the grand poobah of this and that deems you a terrorist, pops you on a plane and shoots you to a different country. There's usually a process. In fact, the reason that they were able to pick up those people that they claim or allege that are MS-13 is because all of those people were registered to claim for asylum. That's how they know where these people are from and their addresses and everything else. They were already in the asylum process and waiting for court, waiting for their day in court to say, yes, I can, no, I can't, et cetera, et cetera. Even then, when they applied to for habeas corpus to not be deported and was granted that, they did not apply to be released out of the custody. Even then, the judge that said turn the planes around nowhere said you have to release these people. He said specifically you could keep them in custody. You just had to keep them in United States custody, again, before they go to court. We have due process in this country. If you don't think we have due process in this country, you could look at all kinds of different amendments. 4th, 5th, 6th are the biggest ones. 8th is another one. All part of our due process here. 6th specifically, right to a speedy trial in front of your peers and everything else. That's not just for citizens, by the way. That's for people that are here on this earth and mound dirt side over here, behind the invisible line. That's how the Constitution works. Don't necessarily need to speak down to anybody like that, but that's what it seems like sometimes you have to. Is, well, why did you move 8 spaces on the game board? You rolled a 6. You can only move 6 spaces. I know you want to move 8. I know it would be advantageous for you to move those extra 2, but you rolled a 6 and we do the number that's on the thing. That's how I feel like when I explain the Constitution. So let's talk a little bit more about what we've got going on here. Oh, war scene? Absolutely. Declare war then. Congress declares war. And just because something looks like a war scene, are we supposed to turn around and do something about it? I'll tell you what looks like a war scene, the Middle East. So should we declare war on Yemen? Should we go to the international court and talk to Israel about that? Those places look like wars. So the Alien and Enemies Act is military-wise. Insurgent, invasion, all of those things are military terms, even to the point where that law was brought up for military engagements with the French. So I absolutely get it. I absolutely get we don't want gang members here in the United States. Sure, absolutely. That's why we've got all kinds of different laws to deport people who are violent criminals. Not people that are suspected, alleged. 75% of these people that were sent to El Salvador weren't even charged with anything. Nobody wants to be pointed at and go, you're a terrorist, get on the plane because you're getting out of here. What would you say if somebody just turned around and said, here you go, You're a terrorist. We're going to send you to Gitmo. What was the first thing you would say is, I would have called my lawyer. Why call your lawyer? I'm already going to put you on a plane to get you out of here. Oh, you call your lawyer so that you can go before court, so you can have your day in court and have a third party decide what's going on. So I didn't want to necessarily devolve too much. Speedy trials are supposed to happen as fast as they can. I absolutely, look, I get it. I absolutely get it. I have another side to it. And those of you that are listening on the radio, I'm talking with somebody who is on the chat side. Speedy trial is taking place where? Here in the United States. A few of the gentlemen actually had court dates, I believe, scheduled for this week or next week. And if you don't think that the trial is going fast enough, maybe you should have looked at some of the bills that they were going to add more judges to the roster for immigration. But to arbitrarily point at somebody and say, you're a terrorist, get on the bus, hop on the plane, here's a black bag for your face, doesn't work. Doesn't. Sorry. Sixth Amendment tells you you're not supposed to, that you're supposed to be brought before somebody against your accuser, everything. So I absolutely understand. Look, I don't want terrorists in here either. But I don't need to use the Alien Enemies Act to get it done. There's already enough deportation statutes in there. So that's what else is happening other than the tariffs. I know you don't want to talk about tariffs. Nobody wants to talk about tariffs because it makes our dear leader not look so dear, not look so on the ball with it. Tariffs have historically served as critical tools in shaping the United States trade policy. These import taxes can serve to protect domestic industries. Everybody talks about Canada having a tax on United States milk or a tariff on United States milk. Yes, that is after it hits a certain threshold, and it is never hit that threshold because our farmers know the threshold, so they only send as much to Canada to stay under that threshold. So that's a way that targeted tariffs can work to help local industries, but not completely cut off the international trade or put import taxes. The ACLU has been the one that has filed a lot of these broader side of things that you're talking about, Dennis. The ACLU is absolutely working on the America, or the I always forget what it is, the Alien Enemies Act. They are working on reining that in a little bit more. Congress is also working on kind of curtailing some of it as well. Let me see what I can put together, and maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow for the panel. Import taxes can serve to protect domestic industries, raise revenue, or be used as diplomatic leverage in trade negotiations. However, the manner in which they are implemented, whether as targeted instruments to support specific sectors or as a broad brush policy aimed at addressing macroeconomic concerns. Macro means big. This can yield dramatically different results. They talk about the tariffs in the first term and how they worked so well. Well, they worked so well that we had to turn around and add subsidies to the American farmers because of the soybeans. And just recently, they had the sorry, I'm getting a few messages over here, that what ended up happening for the tariff side of things is that the targeted side of things is the best route to go if you are going to put it in. If it is actually a tariff you are going to leave in there. If you do broad strokes of it, it is usually a negotiation tactic. So just recently, the president talked about how some of these tariffs, when he was asked about what are you going to use the money that the tariffs bring in, he said he was going to use it for tax breaks. So you're going to tax us on imports. Tax us on imports, by the way, not them. We pay that tariff. You're going to tax us on imports so that you can give us tax cuts? Oh, that's right. It's not us that gets the tax cuts. I get it now. 3 pivotal cases: the chicken war of the 1960s, the Smoot-Hawley tariff of the 1930s, and the Trump administration's trade policies provide compelling case studies to assess the complexities, benefits, and drawbacks of different tariff strategies. Already 15 minutes into the show, and we are making sure that we get that up and running. Not on your radio, that he says. We'll make sure that we get that squared away for you and check on it here in just a little bit. But I'll do that during the break. So let's get into the chicken wars before we get into the top of the hour. So the chicken war and the enduring chicken tax. This is something that we still are affected by today. In the early 1960s, an unlikely product, chicken, became the focal point of international trade tensions between the United States and Europe. The dispute began when American chicken exports flooded the European market. We'd finally been able to industrialize chicken. Driven by advancements in the American poultry farming and dramatically reduced production costs, European producers, especially in France and West Germany, found themselves unable to compete with the influx of cheaper U.S. poultry, and responded by imposing tariffs and quotas on American chicken. In retaliation, the United States, under President Lyndon B. Johnson, imposed a 25% tariff on several European products, including light trucks, potato starch, dextrin, and brandy. This specific measure became widely known as the chicken tax. The tariff on light trucks was primarily directed at Germany, whose Volkswagen Type 2 van was gaining popularity in the U.S. market. So Europe turns around and says, hey, we don't want your chicken. We need to get more chicken produced here in the EU, in France, and Germany. So we're going to impose a tariff, which will make your chicken more expensive to our people, and therefore they will have to buy the slightly less expensive, but still more expensive than what they're paying now, local chicken. Do you see what it is? It's another tax. It's a tax on their people to make them buy something different. Why do you buy things? You buy low, right? Buy low, sell high. Warren Buffett. That's why he made so much money. But that end of it, of making the market and changing the market and forcing a product to be higher, not because of supply, not because of demand, not because of manufacturing, but because they don't like where you're buying it from, the people end up paying more. We all pay more when more taxes are applied. I don't know how else to say it. You rolled a 6 on the dice, take your 6 spaces. But here's the long-term economic impacts of the chicken tax. The light truck tariff remains in place to this day. Yeah. And it had significant consequences in the United States automotive industry. It effectively protected American manufacturers like Ford and General Motors from foreign competition in the light truck market, allowing them to dominate this segment for decades. However, this protectionism came at a cost. Reduced consumer choices, right? If you got less choices, you are subject to whatever prices those less choices put together. In a free market, somebody turns around and says, I can make that cheaper and I can make that better, or I can make it just as good but cheaper. That's where a free market, the laissez-faire market, as they will, but they don't want a laissez-faire market. They want you to buy things from their buddies. Why do you think pharmaceuticals are the next thing to be taxed? Higher prices, the lack of competition allowed domestic producers to maintain higher prices. And market distortions. Foreign manufacturers found creative ways to circumvent the tariff. For instance, companies like Ford and Mercedes-Benz would partially assemble vehicles abroad, import them as passenger vehicles, and then convert them into trucks after importation. A practice known as tariff engineering. All things that would not be around if we didn't have the tariff manipulating the market. You want to talk about regulations, you want to talk about this, or you want to talk about, hey, we can't do business in here because this thing says this, or I want to make sure that we don't have as many metal shavings in our products that people eat, that regulations. Don't go after those regulations and remove those regulations. Remove the barriers of trade. With this, quote, trade deficit, this bad trade deficit, I'm not going to argue we don't have a trade deficit. We do. We're more consumer-based here in the United States than we are exporting anything. But that doesn't mean that we don't buy things still. It doesn't mean we don't manufacture. It doesn't mean that we all don't have a share in this economy. We're going to continue on with our tariff talk. I'm going to look up a couple things that chat asked me to look up. That way I can have that ready to go for them. Smoot Holly is what we're talking about next, and we will walk into some of these regulations and tariffs that are here. And then we'll talk about the bond market and where American economy stability has really been our strength and is now starting to crumble. More Apolitical Talk Show after the news.
At Britain's Touchless Car Wash, they know life gets busy. That's why they're here 24/7 to keep your car looking spotless, fast, and easy. Their advanced brush-free wash technology delivers a sparkling clean without a single scratch, because they treat your car like it's their own. Here's the best part. Right now, you can get a free car wash just for joining their text club. It's simple. Just text BRITT to 30400, and your first wash is on them. Britain's Touchless Car Wash has 2 convenient locations, 1923 Larkin Avenue in Elgin and 555 Willow in West Dundee. They're proud to keep your car clean while giving back to our community. Text BRITT to 30400. That's BRITT to 30400. Now for your free car wash, and see why Britain's Touchless Car Wash is the fast, gentle, and reliable choice.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 5 o'clock.
This is WRMN News.
Hello, I'm Dennis Green. The U.S. nuclear arsenal is getting a fast-track upgrade in the form of a powerful new bomb meant to keep the nation on par with others around the globe. But as News Nation's Nick Smith reports, when it comes to destructiveness, other nations have bombs that pack a bigger punch.
The B-6113, a gravity nuclear bomb with an explosive force 24 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. While devastating, Russia's RS-28 Sarmat missile carries warheads twice as destructive, and China's DF-41 missile can target multiple locations simultaneously.
Science and technology website Interesting Engineering says the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, Japan in 1945 had a 15 kiloton yield, equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. The B-6113 is designed to have a 360 kiloton payload. The news of President Trump rolling back tariffs on U.S. imports broke while U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer was being questioned during House Ways and Means hearing. Democrat Representative Steve Horsford wasn't happy Greer didn't reveal the plan.
Is this market manipulation? Why not? If it was a plan, if it was always the plan, how is this not market manipulation?
It's not market manipulation, sir.
But then what is it? Because it sure is not a strategy.
Greer says it's all about resetting the global trade system, but Horsford said all it did was inflict harm on the American people.
Night, Dennis.
Hey,
Yeah.
did you make it to the office?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. I just, don't worry about it.
Is it something wrong there?
No, it's all good.
Oh, okay. I just got me missing and then was heading to the house.
No, you're all good. I don't have anything at the office I need from you. So you don't have to head over there if you don't want to.
I'll be bright and early.
Okay, see you then.
Thank you.
You got it. Bye.
Hey, Dennis. Hey. Yeah. Did you make it to the office? No, I haven't yet. Okay.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast. This afternoon, partly sunny with a slight chance of rain showers and a high near 47, with temperatures falling to around 45. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a slight chance of rain showers before 7 p.m. and a low around 33. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high near 53. Currently, it is 42 and overcast. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
Progressive Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Psst, honey. Honey. What? Shh, there's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do?
Get down.
Down?
On the floor, you...
Shoot, did he see us?
Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy, but with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you...
Peace of mind isn't always easy to come by out on your operation. With so many unknowns, especially when it comes to nitrogen loss, you know the importance of every decision. But N-Edge Pro offers one less worry, keeping nitrogen well guarded with results you can see. Using 2 modes of action packed into one mighty stabilizer, your crops are protected on every level. Protect your nitrogen above and below ground with N-Edge Pro from CHS. Learn more at chsagronomy.com/NEdgePro.
Want to read some action-packed, exciting pulp fiction? Read the works of Michael Tooman, now featuring their international crime thriller, I Married a Bot Madam. Available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions. The paperback is also available at other book retailers. Check out Michael Tooman's webpage at Silink.net. That's Papa Sierra Yankee Lima India November Kilo dot November Echo Tango.
Hello, my fellow Americans, and good day to our friends around the world. Hopefully, I'm sounding a little bit better here on a political talk show. Thank all of you for sticking with me on that first hour when we went through some of the tariffs, got a little bit into some immigration speak as well. That was something that we're working on over here. It is an ongoing I don't know. I guess it's an ongoing issue that's happening right now. I think it was just a couple of days ago that we got a Supreme Court ruling and also an opinion and also a dissent to the opinion. So we're still combing through a few of those things there. Thank you all for your questions on that side of things. We did an episode on due process, going all the way back to talking about the Magna Carta, talking about where habeas corpus eventually came from. I think we even went into the laws of the Confederacy and even into our own Constitution right now. The Sixth Amendment absolutely gives us all that due process. Fourth Amendment, I believe, gives us that non-search and seizure of things. Fifth Amendment gives us the right to not self-incriminate ourselves. And then, of course, we've also got the Eighth Amendment that prevents you from cruel and unusual punishment too. So there's a few different amendments, but they all kind of fall into this due process where you have a right to see your accused. You have a right for a third party to rule on what's going on. If you judge, if you will, both the person and the act. So we are kind of putting that together. I think it's probably going to be a Monday or Tuesday type of thing. We've got the Free Speech Friday panel coming on tomorrow, and I've got a few free speech questions to ask them about. Primarily, if the government sends out a letter that says you can't use these words in government, just anything, emails, press releases, et cetera, how is that not being the word police? Right? We all heard about the word police are coming. Janine Pirro was be very afraid. The word police are coming for you. It's time to be afraid. The Biden administration's word police are coming for you. Be afraid. But yet, we've got the Enola Gay being removed from the military archives because it used the word gay in it, to talk about those pesky nuclear bombs. But today we're talking about tariffs. And a lot of times tariffs are put together through an act, right? We talked about the chicken tax, where Lyndon B. Johnson had put together that chicken tax where he put a tax on vehicles. Still now, 25% tax. Where do they get this 25% tax from? Well, this is probably the place that they get it from. We've had it for a long time. For decades, American car manufacturers were able to have a leg up because even if the importers were able to make it cheaper, the government punished you for buying an import. I mean, that's what it is. If you look at it from the same way that you look at it from the soda tax or the tobacco tax on anything or any of the sin taxes that are out there. Oh, you buy lottery tickets, you buy alcohol, you buy whatever else. The government doesn't like you to do those things because of obesity, because of health problems, because of moral decay, whatever else. They raise the taxes on that because they want to make it more expensive so that you don't buy those things. It's the same thing with tariffs. If I make their products more expensive for you, you'll buy American, even though American is more expensive than what you're paying now. You see how it works? Is how this will increase inflation. And so everybody thinks we're playing 4D chess and all of these other things, but let's look at the previous games. The chicken tax was one, but let's look at the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. Passed at the dawn of the Great Depression. Great Depression just started firing up. Oh my gosh, what do we do? What do we do? The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930 aimed to protect American agriculture and industry by raising import duties on more than 20,000 goods. Sponsored by Senator Reed Smoot and Representative Willis Hawley, the legislation emerged from mounting economic anxiety and was intended to support domestic employment and production, right? You're going back to the protectionism. We're going back to, we got to make sure this is protected over here. We are a globe with a global economy, one that we have built pipeline after pipeline after pipeline to establish, while the rest has eroded. Our infrastructure has eroded, our power system has eroded, our bridges, our roads, whatever else that you want to look at. Communication has even gone that far. And so by all means, protectionism, if you have something that's already invested in and worth protecting. It takes anywhere from 2 to 3 years to move a company from a foreign nation to the United States. We're talking land purchases. We're talking about permits to be able to make the product in that area. You're looking at regulations on environment. You're looking at floor plans. You're looking at townships and cities and states and everything else that comes in. And let alone if there are steel taxes and you want to make your building with, I don't know, some sort of steel structure, now you have to even contend with your own tariffs that you have to get through to put something here. When all I've got to do is move from Vietnam at the, what was it, like 60% on Vietnam? Hop, skip, and a jump, I'm over at the Philippines with their 10 to 15% minimum. I don't have to build an entirely new thing. I don't have to go out and find American employees. And that's if my industry hasn't started to automate. I can put robots in any country. No one cares about labor laws of machines. So even if I do move my factory to the United States, all I've got to do is hire people to maintain my machines. That isn't hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs. That's like 80 people with oil cans. And so in 1930, raising import duties on more than 20,000 goods, the global context in which the Smoot-Hawley was enacted was particularly ill-suited to such a blanket protectionist strategy. The world economy was already fragile, and the new tariffs triggered retaliatory measures from trading partners worldwide. Tariffs make everything go up in price. They do. You're making them more expensive. When I say I'm going to eat 10% more chicken wings, I'm not eating less chicken wings. When I say a thing will cost 25, 15, 104% more is not less. More makes the number go uppy, not number go downy. Like I feel like I'm just, I don't mean to speak down to anybody, but we cannot live with these constant misrepresentations. And that's me being nice. 1930, the collapse of international trade, right as the global depression or the Great Depression was starting. Global trade volumes plummeted as countries responded with their own protectionist policies. Between 1929 and 1933, U.S. imports fell over 66%, or the imports fell 66%. And exports, those same farmers that were sending things out that you wanted to protect, the exports dropped by 61%. It made everything more expensive. The global retaliation, because the key U.S. trading partners, including Canada, Europe, European nations, imposed counter tariffs, it led to sharp decline in American agricultural inputs or exports. Rather than alleviating the Great Depression, the Smoot-Hawley tariff exasperated it by shrinking international markets and deepening global economic fragmentation. Most economists now view Smoot-Hawley as the prime example of how blanket tariffs, even with protectionist intentions, right? I want to bring manufacturing back. I want to make sure our farmers that are already exporting have a fair deal out there in the world. Protectionist. But they can backfire by instigating trade wars and economic decline. I know my listeners love some history, but instead of just remembering facts of history, let's use it as a tool to realize that this is not a good decision. It is such not a good decision, the worst not good decision out there, that we paused it for 90 days after we spent over 48 hours with our hair on fire. That's just the short term. That's just this week. Imagine years and years of this back and forth. Now let's talk about where we were before. Beginning in 2018, President Donald Trump launched a series of tariffs on steel, aluminum, and a wide array of goods from China and other nations. Unlike the highly targeted approach of the chicken tax or the widespread application of Smoot-Hawley, at the time, Trump's tariffs represented a hybrid strategy, wide in scope, but often linked to specific political or economic goals. I want to increase steel and aluminum manufacturing here in the United States. So I will do a blanket steel and tariff, or steel and aluminum tariff, but I'll leave all the rest of it open. The goals and the rationale for it were that there was a trade imbalance. Same thing that they're talking about now. President Trump aimed to reduce the U.S. trade deficit, especially with China, which he accused of unfair trade practices. Now, you could go all the way back as far as even before Reagan. You're talking about the 70s. You're talking about the 60s, where they all started talking about, hey, Chinese manufacturing may end up eclipsing American manufacturing. They've been talking about this for decades, but no one was able to do anything about it because that's against fair trade. That's against laissez-faire capitalism. That's against the free market. And so what it tried to do as well in 2018 with these targeted tariffs, reviving the manufacturing. Tariffs were intended to boost American manufacturing by making foreign goods more expensive, right? More expensive. If something I buy from China is cheaper than something I buy from America,
I don't change the price of the American side. I don't make the American side more appealing. I don't I don't turn around and plead to the hearts of Americans and say, buy America. The easiest way to do it is just make the foreign stuff more expensive than the American stuff. Don't lower prices. Don't deregulate. Don't help out. Don't cut taxes for the small business so that they can have a cheaper product. No, we'll just raise the other one. Tariffs make things more expensive. Whether you switch to the United States and start buying United States, well, that's more expensive than what the other one was. Or you buy the foreign side because that's what you want. That's what you're used to. It's more expensive. I'd like somebody to show me the least expensive American vanilla extract or the least expensive American coffee. Those are automatically going to go up. You cannot buy those in America because guess what? We don't grow those things here. So when you turn around and you just add a 10% tariff on it, you just made coffee and vanilla and anything else that we can't make here that we have to have here more expensive. In 2018, the administration used tariffs as a bargaining chip in renegotiating trade agreements such as the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, which at the time was the best beautiful deal that had ever been made. And not 10 years later, we're looking at who made this deal, who was the idiot who put this together. What were the effects of the 2018 side? There's a mixed impact on manufacturing. Some domestic manufacturers benefited, particular steel producers. Taxes on steel, tariffs on steel, tariffs on foreign steel, rather. However, companies reliant on imported materials like automotive and appliance makers faced higher input costs. Tariffs contributed to inflation in affected goods. For example, washing machines saw an increased price of 12% shortly after tariffs were imposed because there was a tariff on washing machines. But riddle me this, Batman. If there's a tariff on the washing machine and the washing machine went up and there is no tariff on the dryer, why did the dryer prices go up? Because tariffs also give corporations an excuse to raise their prices beyond the tariff. You're not paying attention. You don't know if the tariff was 15%, 25%, 30%. You don't know if one little spring that I put in my machine has cost me 104% tariff on something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cost of my new tariffs on there, and then I'm going to jack it up by another couple percentage points just in case the dear leader decides to tweet out a different number. Agricultural struggled. Retaliatory tariffs, especially from China, targeted U.S. agricultural exports like soybeans and pork. This led to significant losses in farm income and required billions in federal subsidies to support farmers. These tariffs are great. They're going to bring in so much money into the United States, so much money that we will be able to give the money back to the people that are affected by our dumb tariffs. You want to talk about inefficiency, government inefficiency. And yes, washers and dryers are teamed together, especially when they're the top and lower guys. And like you know, Dennis, as well, they put the little pocket on the back of the shirt to get around tariffs of that. Why have tariff engineering when we can have free trade? See, a lot of these people talk about the free market, laissez-faire, capitalism will make it, the strong survive. Except these people need a break. Oh, and we need to raise the price over there. Well, let's tweak this a little bit over there. Global trade tensions sparked prolonged trade war with China, resulting in reciprocal duties and a chilling effect on global economic confidence. Was that 2018 or was that this week? We'll know more when we talk about bonds when we come back.
With your 1410 WRMN News Flash, I'm Sean Curdan. Brought to you by Prevnar. The Illinois State Board of Elections has charged Senate President Don Harmon with collecting campaign contributions exceeding the state limits by $4.1 million. Harmon disputes the board interpretation, claiming it will be resolved. Officially notified, Harmon must return the excess funds by April 18th to avoid a potential $6.1 million fine. 2 Easter egg hunts are set to entertain families in Elgin this weekend at the Hanover Township and in St. Thomas More Catholic Church. The first event in Hanover, Hoppin' for Hanover, starts at 10 a.m., and the church event starts an hour later at 11 a.m. The Kane County Court System introducing its inaugural digital newsletter, Kane Courts Quarterly. The publication aims to enhance community engagement by providing essential updates and useful information directly to residents' inboxes. With the first edition on its way, subscribers can expect insights into their local court events, juror services, and resources for both the public and the legal community. With your 1410 WRMN News Flash, I'm Sean Curdan.
With Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor gets to know you and your goals to build a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Backed by a team of specialists, they'll analyze all your accounts, even the ones they don't manage, to keep an eye on taxes and provide proactive portfolio insights that can help you unlock your wealth's full potential. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
Attention passengers, we've reached 10,000 feet and internet is now available for purchase.
I just paid hundreds for this flight, and you can't even throw in internet? I'll just take the free pretzels.
Sorry, but I do have snack boxes for sale.
I'm just gonna sleep.
In that case, we are selling pillows and blankets as well.
I'll just breathe. That's free, right?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. That's 800-760-1845.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast. Tonight, a slight chance of rain showers before 7 p.m. Mostly cloudy with a low around 33. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high near 53. Tomorrow night, mostly clear with a low around 33. Looking ahead to Saturday, sunny with a high near 60. Currently, it is 41 with moderate intensity drizzle. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Welcome back to A Political Talk Show on WRMN. You can find A Political Talk Show on your favorite podcasting platform, whether that is Spotify or Apple or Pandora or Spreaker or Deezer or Podbean. All of those different podcast platforms that are out there, you can find A Political Talk Show. Thanks for being with us. This is the last little bit of it's 35 past the hour now. And we are going to take this all the way to 58:50. I don't think we're going to take a break in the middle of it. Depends on where we're at with this last little bit, because I want to just talk about the end of what we're talking about here for our taxation type of side, or tariffs, if you will. Just a fancy term for taxing you. Yeah, regardless of what anybody wants to tell you, regardless of the non-good faith arguments for things, the bad faith arguments, if you will, it's a tax on you to prevent you from buying stuff. They want to make sure that you're buying the things that they want you to buy. And they do that by not just market manipulation. They do that by literal price manipulation. The literal, no, that thing that you bought from somebody else that we don't like, well, it's more expensive now because we don't like you buying those things. If you are going to buy them, then we're just going to make sure that we tax the crap out of it. So that way you will feel the hurt, because we don't want you buying that thing. Because when you buy that thing, it hurts the United States. National security. And so let's talk a little bit about our examples and the lessons that we can learn. I didn't bring up this one specifically because we are going to talk about bonds and how bonds work. And I think that was why Trump blinked or conceded or backed off or whatever you want to say. It is not a victory. You don't get to, I don't know, punch yourself in the face over and over again. And when you stop punching yourself in the face, oh, yes, good job. Where's the cake? Blow out the candle. Good job for not punching yourself again. So some of the implications and the lessons learned through the chicken tax, the Smoot-Hawley, the 2018 taxes. Reevaluation is critical. That's the biggest thing, and that's why they weren't permanent. The chicken tax illustrated that the dangers of maintaining tariffs long after their initial purpose has faded. Avoid economic isolation. When we talk about the Great Depression and we talk about the Smoot-Hawley Act, that demonstrated that unilateral trade barriers can lead to global retaliation and economic decline. They want to talk about, oh, well, it's been in this decline for the last 30 years, and we've been in a trade deficit for the last 30 or 40 years. Have you seen the wealth of the United States has grown exponentially of everybody, not just the top? Us at the bottom have got wealthier, not as wealthy as the top, but the United States as a whole has gotten wealthier, despite what they say about a trade deficit. We've also got to look at balance and negotiation. The Trump tariffs of 2018 reflect the potential utility and pitfalls of using trade policy as a strategic lever. Their effectiveness depends heavily on execution and coordination with allies. With allies does not mean a digital message at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the morning, or a single declaration by a single person. Sector-specific versus economy-wide targeted tariffs tend to yield clear winners and losers within specific industries. Blanket tariffs, by contrast, often create widespread economic uncertainty. And that is why we're going to talk about this powerful double-edged sword in the terms of bonds. U.S. Treasury bonds are a cornerstone of the global financial system and play a pivotal role in domestic economic policy. They're not only vital instruments for government borrowing, but also reflect investors' sentiment and market expectations. When stock markets experience significant volatility or just downturns, these bonds often become a safe haven for assets. When the market is volatile, what that means is it's moving a lot, goes up, goes down, it won't stay the same, won't grow, won't dive. It just is all over the place. You move your money out of the stock market if you're somebody who likes to, make money with money. You move it out of a volatile stock market because you don't know when or if or where it might drop. And you move it to the U.S. Treasury bonds because the Treasury bonds have those guaranteed percentages over the course of the 20 or 30 or whatever year bond that you have. And it's usually a pretty significant increase. Now you're looking at maybe 5%, nothing crazy, not to the, what is the average above 6%, upwards of 12% each year for the stock market. Now, just over the last, week, we have absolutely canceled everything we made in 2024. It is now back to this year, April of 2024. The dynamics between equities, bonds, and trade policy, particularly tariffs, can influence strategic decisions at the highest levels of government, including actions taken by the president. So first, let's break down how they work. U.S. Treasury securities, including Treasury bonds, Treasury notes, and Treasury bills, are debt instruments issued by the federal government to fund operations and manage national debt. T-bonds have maturity of 20 to 30 years and pay a fixed interest every 6 months. T-notes are midterm securities with maturities of 2 to 10 years, and T-bills are short-term instruments maturing in less than a year and sold at a discount. These securities are considered risk-free in terms of default, but as they are backed by full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Full faith and credit of the U.S. government. The stability of our stock market, the stability of our political government and the ways in which our country is run, the stability and the expectation that the United States will stay on top in whatever military side or economic side for things. Bond prices and yields move inversely. When bond demand increases, usually in times of market fear, prices rise and yields fall. Conversely, when investors flee bonds for riskier assets like stock prices, prices fall and yields rise. Yields are closely watched indicators of investor confidence, inflation expectations, and future interest rate changes. So when we see the stock market drop, we should see the bond market grow. People move it out of the stock market and pop it into the bond market because they go, okay, well, even if the stock market is volatile, surely the United States as a whole, as itself, as a ongoing democracy, as a 250-year experiment, will continue to be the superpower that they are. So I'll move out of stocks and I'll put them into my bonds. But what ends up happening, and what happened this week, is stocks dropped. And because of the volatility from our own government, not from the market, not from somebody dropping a new business or somebody going under or a housing market going down, from our own government, from our own president, the bond market tanked too. People started not only selling their stocks in the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, they also started selling their bonds. And what ends up happening with that is it's because they lose the stability and lose the belief that these bonds, notes, bills are actually going to be backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. And that is what finally scared President Trump to actually announce the pause. Now, there's only one other way to explain why you would be so adamant about never changing and never doing anything, and these are going to be here forever, is that it's market manipulation. Now, we can say it's market manipulation all day, but if it's not nefarious market manipulation, which is why it seems odd that 20 minutes before he announced that we were pausing the tariffs, there was an odd buy 20 minutes before everybody else got the notification. There was a spike in buying, almost as if it was, hey, everybody, I'm finally going to make that announcement here in about 20 minutes. Hop on. And so this is what really gets me with this. And we've only got about 10 minutes left in it, in the show today. I'm tired of being lied to. Tired of being misdirected. I'm tired of the rug being pulled out from under me. Let's stick to a plan. Look, if we want the plan to be, look, let's put tariffs on and let's turn around and try to force manufacturing back into it, then let that be the plan. If we're using it for negotiating tactics, then let that be the plan. If we're using it to pay off the debt or to give the rest of us tax credits or whatever else, then let that be the plan. But when we get 3, 5, 8 different plans that are all contradictory to themselves, none of us can plan for the future. And this is why, I know I'm going to beat it up, and I know I'm going to beat it up probably for the rest of my life until we finally start taking these powers away from the executive branch. We did not create the presidency to be the end all be all. If anything, the reason we did that and put somebody in that place was that we had one person to be mad at, regardless of the 538 other people that are supposed to be running the government, the justices, and anybody else who's on the cabinet. We wanted one person to yell at and to blame, but we do not want one person to make all of the decisions. Do you want that? How do you want that and continue to call yourself a patriot? How do you have blind fealty to a party, blind fealty to a person, unbounded loyalty to a candidate or to a caucus, and not to the United States of America, not to the Constitution? And we've done this on Word Wednesday before, but you're not a patriot. You're a nationalist. And we love words here. We love them. They're so great. The best words. We've got the best words on a political talk show. Patriot is a person who wants the government and America to work for everyone. All laws, all goodies, all things are there to make all American citizens better. The rule of law, the republic in which we all agree to live here, the societal contract that we have between us and the government. That is what patriots focus on. Nationalists, they want what's best for them and theirs. They want what's best for the people that go to their same church. They want what's best for the people that are in their same tax bracket. They want what's best for people that look like them. That's a nationalist. You want the nation to look and be like you. That's not a patriot. Where are the patriots? Where are the ones that stand up and say, no, I'm sorry. According to Article 2 of the Constitution, Congress has that power. No, I'm sorry. That temporary restraining order put onto you by the judicial branch is valid because of Article 3. And this is what really infuriates me when we get somebody who we have to live by their whims. I don't like living by anybody's whims but my own. Do you like it when somebody says that thing you're purchasing, it's more expensive? Well, why is it more expensive? Did the price of the ingredients go up? No. Well, did the people that assembled it want a higher wage? No. Did the gas prices go up, or the transportation and the delivery go up? No. I just don't like you buying that from those people. You're okay with that? That's what you voted for? And I'm not here to just beat up on people who voted for this, didn't vote for this. What I'm doing is I'm trying to appeal to the patriots. I'm trying to appeal to those that call themselves patriots. Because giving all of the power that the Congress is supposed to have, or giving all of the power that judges are supposed to have, and giving them to one person and the people that work for that one person, isn't the republic, isn't the democracy, isn't the land, the Constitution, the bright city on the shining hill. It doesn't work like that. We did not, will not, cannot suffer at the hands of King Trump I. Nor should we ever bend the knee to any king with any executive power. And when I know that it's going to happen in 28, I know that it's going to happen in 26, I know that the Democrats are going to take over eventually, I will not accept it from them either. Don't take this as a Lindsey Graham promise. Take this as a Dennis Sonar Green promise. When the executive branch oversteps, when the executive branch reaches, when Congress gives up, our Congress hasn't been effective since the 90s, has not passed a budget for longer than half of my life. We need to give the power back to where the power is supposed to be derived from, and that is the people. And the people elect the Congress to do the Congress's job, and the people elect the president to do the president's job. Should not be one person who does it all. One person that is the executive the legislative, and the judicial, passing judgment on people without due process, creating laws and acts without votes, and enacting his own way of the world to make sure that you and I live at the whim of a tweet. Let me know what you think, not only on the chat line here on YouTube. Send me a message. I get lots of them. Sonar at WRMN1410.com. I'll see you tomorrow for some Free Speech Friday. Stick around, the morning show in the morning at 6. Brian Kilmeade next.
Systems run everything. Government, economy, media, justice. They shape your choices, your opportunities, your future. But do they work for you or against you? On Apolitical